So here we are, breathing the life. Donald Martin, I'm Luis Guerra. DJ Taz is with us today. This is like a great opportunity for all of us, but we're excited to have you with us. And so lovely. And so we haven't known you very long, but we definitely feel a synergy with your music and what you're doing in the world. And we wanted to talk with people about that and shed some light on that and like expand, just keep expanding and crossing over universes and communities. So that's what our intention is.
That's amazing. I'm grateful to be here. It's awesome to meet you at the Wave event with Whole Movement in Asheville. And I felt your guys' energy. I was like, all right, what are these guys about? And here we are, so it worked, so our paths crossed and now we're collaborating.
Perfect. So how did you, we could go down the list of questions, of course, we sent you earlier, but it's really just like, I just want to open this up to you.
Sure.
Like, how did you end up full-time DJing? And you brought that, and you were a featured guest, you're a featured artist at the Wave, and so we wanted to just hear what that perspective of yours, what brought you into it.
To be honest, it was a lot of feelings of unfulfillment in my previous life and work in the corporate space, and from 2005 to 11, I graduated from college and Miami University from Ohio, and it's like you have a mindset, and a lot of times, like my mindset at that point wasn't like, oh, I'm going to become a music producer and a DJ in the wellness space. Like that is a foreign alien idea. I wouldn't even have known that existed in 2005 when I graduated. So I love re-engineering the process of how we find ourselves into a purpose work, because it's really amazing how you can see all the beautiful miracles and the little things that, I connected to this person and I met this person at this thing and I was invited here. Then I started doing it. And we all have those, right? Like the life moments. And for me, when I look back between those years of 2005 to 11, when I was in the corporate space in many different sectors of like life and different workspaces, I was just like finding myself like, that feeling you're like, what is this? Like, what am I doing here? And so many people ask that question, and it's that feeling of like our souls like unfulfilled. Like I don't belong here. That was a feeling that I was often getting. What am I really supposed to be doing? And is this life chasing the dollar around and just filling out reports for something that doesn't excite me at all? So those are the kinds of questions I was asking myself around 2007, 8, 9. And it led me out 2011. And then I started this journey of music and DJing. And then I got into music production, which is my main kind of work right now as a music producer. So yeah, like I think it's like asking those questions is what starts this process, And for me, I'm grateful to have those like moments where I was just so like unhappy with the current state that I wanted to break out of it, and I gave myself permission to start asking the right questions, I guess.
I'm curious to know a little bit, and I want to hear Donna jump in there. I'm very curious for you to take us back to 2011 and what shifted in your mind, and you're like, okay, I'm done. Like you just sort of like, that's it. Something, how was it an event, or was it like in your mind, or what would happen?
Well, at that time, it was May, I remember, in 2011, and I was actually let go from my final job at the corporate space that I was at. I was working it was actually a decent job at that time, semi-healthy environment, but like, whatever, it didn't work out. But like, they let me go because I wasn't hitting my numbers and this and that. But my boss, I remember, it was actually my boss's boss. This guy was super cool. His name was Joe. He brought me into his office and he's like, Taz, like, you're a great guy. I actually see you. I think you're going to do some amazing things, but you absolutely do not belong here. And he said that it was a very it wasn't like a scary conversation. I wasn't nervous. And leading up to that time for the last like 2 years, I was like preparing hardcore for this day to like be kicked out. In a way where like I was doing all this spiritual work. I was in a mantra band, and I was living in Chicago at the time. I was playing in like different like mantra, like have you guys heard of like kirtan, like kind of like chanting, and it's like spiritual music, different. So I was involved musically, but this was all like kind of in the side. So I was preparing in a way, not necessarily for this moment, thinking about it, but I was doing all this stuff on my free time. I was, I was doing these roles that later would become jobs and professional life type experiences. And when my job, when they let me go, when he was like, "There's something else for you, we gotta let you go," I was like kind of like ecstatic. I was like, "Oh, thank you, my God, finally!" Like that was literally like, yes, of course, I was like a little nervous, and you're getting let go, but like I was literally kind of smiling through the whole experience, which is not what happened previously when I was let go from other jobs, and I was just like worried and this and that. I had a deep sense of trust in the universe, honestly, because I was studying spirituality and the laws of attraction and really embodying this stuff on the side while I was working in my corporate space. So when that transition happened and I was let go, I was just like, wow, like, thank you. My wings are open. And there's more stuff that took place. Like actually a month after that, my wife and I, we went to India for a whole month, and it was a kind of like a spiritual deepening process. So this was like a perfect, I mean, talk about synchronicity. It was like a perfect timing of like, you've been let go. All right, we're going to India. We're doing all this, like, when I say work, and it's like the different limbs of yoga. So not just like asana, like, like movement and practice. Like it was a lot of like, meditation, studying like laws of yoga and the universe, deep rituals, fire ceremonies. Like we were doing all the woo-woo and the wild and dancing and flip-flopping and crying and laughing. Like it was just like a release of trauma and healing in a month, and it was just wild fasting. And that kind of stuff really changes you in general. Even if you have a job, or especially if you don't have a job and you're on the brink of busting out, talk about good timing. Because when I came back to America, I was a changed person mentally, internally and probably externally. I felt like different, and there was like no way I could go back to that space. And I had an opportunity for me. It was a home health care agency. I was going to work there. Things were going to be cool financially, future. And I was like, I can't do this. Sorry, guys. And I was like, what's next? And I didn't know at the time. I wasn't DJing yet. I wasn't producing music. I was a musician. I played a lot of instruments. But like, that's when the wild journey started. But that was a big part. Yeah, there was a lot of like amazing synchronicities. And when I look back, it's like, wow, it was like a movie of how it happened. There was a lot of flow, a lot of little resistance. That's why I tell folks is like, pay attention to the things that are in flow in your life. Not that you're so difficultly doing something. It's like, what's easily happening? Because it's nice to be able to pay attention to that. So where it's like, yeah, sometimes there's a lot of effort that's required. And then sometimes like things are just kind of happening in natural rhythm,
Wow.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that.
And I just wanted to share with you, that's really the reason why we initiated, launched Breathe into Life, because we want people, friends, folks to know that like there are those slight moments, right, where you realize like this is not for me, and you pivot to the other side. So in your, I guess, experience, what would be the simplest way? Let's say someone is like feeling like they're done, they're really in pain, and they're, needing to shift, or even not knowing if they're going to be able to shift. What would be your like simplest advice? Like, what do you start? How do you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like, how do you know when you have to pivot? When really first you gotta, like, your body is your biggest answer. Your body has so much wisdom within it, the muscle memory, this and that, like your stomach, your gut feeling is what they talk about. Like that's a very powerful, your level of intuition. And we all have these powers as a human being because we're so connected. Like our human body is so deeply connected to our soul. We have to like be aware of this bridge. And for me, it's like, you can feel like the answer, like when you're supposed to do something or not. Like when you're second guessing something, you don't fully feel it. When you get and for me, and I have to always give myself like a day or two to like, how they say like, oh, sleep on it or think about it, rather than make a quick life-changing decision. But especially if you've done that and you're like feeling like, yes, this is like feeling amazing. But if there's like inklings of no, like it's good to like look at that and be like, what's actually going on? You know, maybe even talk it out with someone. But if it's a no, like for me, like when I pivoted, I didn't even have an answer. Like I just knew I was not supposed to go down that road. That's also a huge area of trust and maybe risk. Someone would say, oh, that's very risky. I'm like, well, it's really risky if I did go in that other route. See, that's the way you have to start thinking is like, what are you giving up if you do say no to like your dreams or your purpose and go down the safe route? Like that's more risky to me because that could be a potential life of depression and who knows what and unhappiness and just unfulfilled reoccurrence, because that's what a lot of people fall into are cycles of the same kind of manic, you know, what is it, like the definition of insanity, you know, when you do the same thing over and over. And a lot of folks are attracting the same crappy job or the same crappy relationship, and it's like we're attractive people, right? So we're attracting these situations into our life, but we can tap out when we have some of these aha experiences or some sort of awakening. It gives us a glimpse where you're like, whoa, like I see a bigger picture here, and you're able to pivot or say no to something with a full heart of like, this is not for me, and you move on.
I love that your commitment to like deeply look at your, you know, purpose and your passion when you went to India for a month, because a lot of, you know, all of us don't have the, or we don't think that we have the luxury to do that, right? But you know, all of us know, it's like you want something so badly. When you want something, it's the universe is going to lead us to that place and give us that opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
In your experience, were there more awakenings? Like, are there slight, small windows where you're like, wait, was that it? Or like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's so many different awakenings and ahas, and that it keeps happening even now. I mean, I say to my friends and to family, it's like, we have to pay attention to the small miracles. Like, it doesn't matter what size. Like, I look at the smallest experience and be like, whoa, that was epic. And like, you go into like a state of gratitude for whatever little thing shows up in your life. That's just like, wow, like that happened. That was like magic. Like, so it's like, this has been happening. And this process really started around 2009 when I started doing a lot of inner work. It's a healing journey is what it is, because when we start healing, we start creating space in our inner world for new opportunities to actually show up, because most of us could walk around our lives holding so much like either trauma or wounds in our, like, you know, Eckhart Tolle talks about this pain body we all have from just childhood, and stuff you can't really see, but it's like they say, issues in your tissues. Like, so when we start doing this inner work, however it is, whether it's through therapy or spiritual processes, or if it's breath work or it's a spiritual weekend, I've done all this stuff, you know. you start creating space in your inner world and start retraining your subconscious to attract different things into your life that you really want. This is where the powerful kind of divine essence of our human existence comes into play, is that we can actually create some of these with the connection to our higher power, however we connect to that, to bring these things in. So yes, there's been many awakenings, but I keep seeing more and more, and I'm still paying attention to it. But a lot of this was initiated during this time when this big transition was kind of happening for me, and it was beautiful to me.
Not to cut you off, I would like to simplify that even more. Like,
okay,
we'll distill that even more, because we hear you, we can understand, and I feel like a lot of, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've done work, or we've been gone, and you know, we spent time opening ourselves. But I feel like a lot of people they really don't know. Like, let's even go back to like, what questions were you asking yourself? Like, one question, like, what is it? You know, and for us, it's like we have distilled into the breath.
I got you. I got it. Okay, so around this time, 2008, 9, when I started, actually, I was still in the corporate world, but I was asking myself, like, what would actually make me happy, right? Like, that's actually the simplest question to look into. Like, what makes you happy? Like, what do you enjoy doing in your life? And like, without the connection of financial idea yet. Yeah, it's don't even worry about money, because money's just energy. It's what makes the world go around. But money's involved with everything. It doesn't matter. Like, money doesn't judge. We judge money. Money is involved with every aspect of life in anything. The most spiritual stuff to like even homelessness. The money's involved either. So you have to kind of declutch from that and then ask like what you, the individual, for me, what I wanted to do. And so I started asking these questions, and things started more in the artistic path, whether it was music or like dance and like creativity. This has been part of my life the whole time, but the identity that this could be a lifelong experience that I could do potentially as a career path was starting to actualize for myself. So I tell folks to like start really asking like, what is it that you actually want to do? And then you have to take steps. Like, what is one step you can do? It doesn't mean you have to leave your job and run away to another country and become whatever. It just, what is one step you can do in your town to experience a little bit of that energy? And for me, during that time in Chicago, it was a bigger city. I used to use websites like meetup.com, where you can go and find like-minded individuals in your town that's part of a drum circle or a singing group or a meditation circle. I was going to all these different groups, meeting people, connecting, feeling the energy. It's not like I was looking for my next best friend. It was more like I wanted to be in that vibe that I was thinking about, because I didn't know fully what it was yet. So when you have a desire, it's important to act on certain things to see if you actually want it. It's like when you have, I need this Harley bike, I really want it. All right, go get it or rent it, and see if you actually like it. Because you may realize, I actually don't even want this. This is not me. Right. Now what? Good thing I rented it for a week and checked it out. But that inkling, that desire lurks in our mind and our soul. It's like a scratch you need to itch. So if you don't like give it, it's actually can cause more harm, in my opinion, down the road, because it's like you stifled something of a desire and it like kind of gets pent up and blows up in some way. So I was asking those kinds of questions of what I want to do. The trauma work was deep, but that sometimes part of like spiritual processes, or like I said, like it's something to know that healing needs to happen in the awakening process, because that stuff is there.
Yeah, we feel strongly about that, because once you start to ask like, what do I want? What do I love? What do I see myself doing? Then that's when you're like, well, I gotta let go of stuff, right? And that's when like you start to kind of dig deeper, and that's where the inner work starts happening. So I have some really important questions.
Okay.
You sound like an amazing tapped in person where you're like flowing with creativity. And,
sometimes.
We're like, woo, like,
Yeah.
And that's why we were drawn to you. But do you ever wake up like worrying, getting like, doubts or anxiety, these typical feelings that like, the healers do?
Yeah, never. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So things of fear, worry, doubt, these are human conditions. It's part of our makeup, and the fear and this part of our mind, it's not something that just goes away. I think what happened for me is I started becoming more aware of it. I would see, here's my mind, here I am worrying about something that I can't actually even control. So instead of it controlling me, I can manage it. So you start managing your fear. So if I wake up in that way, I have tools in my tool belt that I know how to calm this stuff down, you know what I mean? Or neutralize it. Really, that's what's needed, is neutralization, because I don't judge it. I don't judge myself if I have a fear of something or if I'm worrying about something, because I just know that it's just an emotion that's popping up, So it's nice to like become aware of it, that it's actually happening. Then you're a little bit in more control of it, and then you can manage what you want to do with it. Like, is there some truth to this? Like, can I do something, or should I actually be worried that I have to go? And then seeing what's actually in your power to carry out an action, because there's so many things that's out of our hands, right? What's the point of worrying about something that you can't even do anything about? If you can make some sort of impact or do something about it, then it's highly advisable, depending on what it is, to see what that's even do. But it's great to just starting to aware of it. But absolutely, I mean, like, I have, doubts and thoughts, and then I take a deep breath and take a step. Well, whoa, like this is something that's happened before. I've thought this, and it's not serving me right now or doing anything. So, because if you dwell in those fears, then you just attract more of that. That's it. That's the power of the mind. Is like whatever you dwell in, is you attract more of. So it doesn't help.
Yeah, right. So like I remind myself like the rewards is when I think of something really beautiful, something really awesome, so something that like is really positive for me. Then I think more of that and start coming. But like I don't want like the bacteria, right, or the disease. That's how I visualize.
Virus, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Barry.
What I will also add is important is that we don't also want to spiritually bypass what's coming up for us. That's also important. Sometimes like, oh, just think positive, just think positive. It's like, well, yes, and it's important to see what is actually arising up. So if there is doubt, fear, that it's good to take a pause and become aware of that and just give it energy. Be like, what is it? Why is that? What is causing that to rise up? To see the root of it, because if you don't see it, it'll keep coming up like weeds. You know what I mean? So giving it awareness in that way and the healing process, because it's something that actually needs to heal. Everything around fear, doubt, worry are things that's begging to be healed within our experience. That's why it's coming up, because it's giving us an opportunity each time for some sort of healing. But healing doesn't end, Like I think healing happens throughout our whole life. I'm still healing with certain things, like I'm married, I've got 2 kids. There's a lot of people involved, like emotions come up and nothing is perfect. It's all work in progress.
I listen to that. Thank you for your advice. I love that. That's so music. Can we talk about music? Because we
love
music. It sounds like you love music.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, we've been listening to your music and we're really drawn to it. Healing. So music and healing, we go to shows a lot, and especially live shows, because like we feel, right, like the music. And can you share a little bit about what that means to you and why you create what you create?
How you landed there, even if you want to get into that, like how you got into music, or when music hits you at whatever age, and you're just like, man, that's powerful, and you just like you made it your life, so you make it your life.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, like how I got, like how I connect to music, how I got into it. Music is something for me that's been part of my life since early, and my parents, like I grew up in Bangladesh, so I grew up in that part of the world, like next to India, listening to a lot of like Indian music, Bengali music. Like my parents played the harmonium, they sang, so I saw this around my life. Very different culture, obviously. And then growing up in the 80s in those countries, like I would listen and hear mixtapes that were sent to me from America of like popular stuff like Phil Collins and Scorpions and Michael Jackson and Madonna and just whatever that was like pop. So I had this element of pop music, and classic rock and stuff that I was kind of hearing over there, and like that culture of music, of Indian music, Bollywood and Bengali music. So I had that just energetically around me. So I felt the power of that. And then I've been playing piano since like 5th grade, and then guitar. So it's like I've been trained classically since early on. Thank God, like because I had all this, background. For me now, like around that 2011 time, like I didn't know that was going to be my purpose, but I did some deep work where I came to this idea that my mission and purpose would be to awaken and empower humanity with music.
Yes.
So that is something I actually wrote down before I even started DJing or producing music. So like I didn't worry about the how, or like how am I going to do that? Like is that even real? It was more like this is what I'm meant to experience in my life and share. And then I started attracting the situations that would allow me to do that. And now I find myself in a place literally touching lives of millions of people around the world through all my personal work and my client work that I do with music for their platforms that reaches literally tens or hundreds of millions. So I have some like level A clients, companies like Apple and Mind Valley and Commune and so on, that like they have their platforms and they're using my music. So it's like it's getting out there. So it's interesting how things play out. But that was my goal of healing humanity with music in different capacities. And that still is. It hasn't changed.
That's a
That's so
beautiful
great.
intention. You know, and that's why people feel your intention
Yeah.
when you hearing your music. It's because that love is like instilled, it's put into your music. So
Thank you.
that's-
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like a pure.
I love it.
Where do you feel like you're at? Like, do you just gonna keep going? It's growing. Like, do you feel like how do you deal with things like burnout, or how do you deal with things like repetition and?
These are all great questions. So how do you deal with burnout, repetition, maybe even like writer's block? These are some questions I get. Honestly, man, I will say, guys, because I have a family, I have two kids. I energetically, it feels like I'm just getting started. I'm not even kidding. That's not something I say. Like whether that comes to my career path, or like I have a 1-year-old. He's gonna turn 1 June 10th, right? I mean, he's got a whole life ahead of him, and part of this, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like my purpose has deepened with my family, and my work has become more impactful, and more focus has been given to my path. So it's like, I really like pay attention what I'm saying yes to. So that's where I'm at, is like focus, energy, because I'm grateful for a lot of the great clients that I've been invited to work with, that allows me to create really impactful work. And so that's a wonderful thing. And that wasn't the case 10 years ago. That's a journey in itself. So what I can say is, like, right now it's about showing up fully to those kinds of projects, to myself, to the different types of events that I show up to, say yes to. And I'm also I also have always been in a space of non-attachment, where like it doesn't have to be a certain thing. If my path needs to shift in some way, I'm open to that. Like there's no gripping of the purpose or this or that, and there's no FOMO anymore. Like this fear of like missing out on something, that actually went away a while ago, because I realized like I'm really not in control in that sense. There's like a flow that's happening through me. And when I sunk into that energy, that there's something beyond me that's doing the magic of this human experience, and I'm kind of here showing up. There's been some miracles, even more, because it's like I get out of the way, like, of what I think needs to happen, and you start fighting life. You start like flowing with it. Like it's literally like the wave, like the idea of the event where we made. You start riding the wave.
Right.
And the wave is there to carry you. Sometimes you'll fall, get back on, but yeah, there's only a few things we can actually control in this world. And I think one of your things you're talking about, like what is like a mantra, or like, like I honestly think like our superpowers as human beings, like one of them is like our attitude. Like that's actually one thing you can control, no matter what no matter what anyone does to you.
Yep.
You can control how you show up to whatever situation, even if things are just messed up, communication's bad. So whatever's happening, you can still show up and add positive energy, or like be in a certain state and share that, right? That's one like superpower that we have. Also practicing acts of kindness. Like again, no matter what the situation is, like we can choose how we support or do certain things for others around us. So very little things in that way, so it's like from working out of those kinds of energies, a lot of our life can be dictated, through those kind of like steps. I'm sure there's a few other things, but those are things I think about,
I love that. So powerful.
Yeah. So I have a question in regards to knowing.
Okay.
A lot of us are lack of trust, right?
Say that again.
Like a lot of us are lack of trust.
Lack of trust, yeah.
Right, because trust is the thing that gets us moving. Trust is the thing that like allow us to just release and just like detach from things. Trust gets us like taking to the next step. What are some of the things that you in mind is that, well, how do you get into trust?
That's a great question. These are like deep topics, guys.
We're gonna take you there.
I love it.
We just go there.
And keep in mind, like,
Or sharing it with us.
everything I'm sharing has been my experience. These are not like, I never claim like these are universal truths, or this has just been what I've found to work for me and working. And I changed my mind, I changed my mind about certain things here and there. Like it's completely normal. But these are the things I can only speak of that I've experienced. So everything I share is about that. I don't make claims. So like, something with like, how do you know when to trust? I think this is like the intuition power. Again, this is like another like superpower that we have as human beings, but it's like a muscle, like trust is a muscle. It doesn't happen overnight. We got to practice it. We got to go to the trust gym, right? You got to do your trust reps, whatever that means for you. But it's something to become aware of and show up to it like over and over. Even if something doesn't work out, you're like, oh, I was hoping this happened. It's like it's a universal thing in your life that I feel like we have to keep showing up to it. For me, it's like there's a bunch of things. Again, it goes back to those simple things of like checking in with your body to see like, how does this feel? Like, am I feeling confident about this? Do I trust? Like, like when someone asks you, hey, do you trust this person or do you trust this situation? It's nice to be able to check into it. And and then if you have to obviously do your homework around whatever situation you're in. So that's the thing, is like those are certain things we can control. Like you may trust something, but if you went on the internet and looked it up and there's people writing about it or we didn't do your due diligence, like that's kind of on us, So we have to do our homework. That's actually, education is the big part. So this is where trust comes in. So there's trust that certain things lead to it, right? And part of the trust gym is doing our homework, doing our studies. If you need to do a master class on something or go on YouTube and watch videos. Like I was obsessed with my music and DJ. This like when I was starting, like I would get my hands on everything I could, whether it was a book, story, like watching interviews, watching, like master classes by other music producers or whatever. Like you have to do your homework on what you're interested in to the point where you're like living it, talking to people in person. And that's where your trust, you'll have a sense of knowing, and with trust comes confidence. That's the other thing. Confidence, when someone is confident, they're competent about something. To become competent about something, what's needed? Education, right? Practice. You have to practice something that you're going to do, right? So it's just becoming familiar with things, the situation, the people, trial processes, whatever that is, because trust is involved in every aspect of life. Like if you put a piece of toast in the toaster, set it for 5 minutes, you're trusting that in 5 minutes that it's not going to be a burnt toast. Like it could be, like, but you've done it a few times, right? You know that it's not going to burn it. So it's like, you need practice.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just like listening. I'm just listening. I'm just thinking, you got me thinking about a lot of things, but we do go deep, and it's really about the personal experience, to be clear. Like we're not trying to proclaim anything.
Yeah.
Universal truth. It's really just your experience. And so thank you for sharing that with us. And with whoever's going to listen to this. That's really important that we all hey man, this is what worked for you, for me, for her, that's it. It's really up to the individual to find out what works for them.
Yes.
And for you, it was music. For me, it was music early on. It's definitely evolved.
Yeah.
Right? And it started to evolve about 5 years ago, and now it's really evolving into this, because I have these crazy skills that I don't even know where they came from, but that's very much what I want to do now, is help people. And there are people that have tapped into music that I want to employ, including myself, but I want to get those people involved because they really do live a musical life, a creative life. Like they really are embodied, like yourself. They really do that, every day they wake up, that's the energy, and that's how they are moving the needle and helping people on that. But it really did start out like that, what you're describing, for whatever reason, so I think it's really powerful to tap into that. It was less of an awareness for me, but it was more about, now I'm starting to understand through faith, through trust, and through awareness, so that there's a much bigger picture here, and there's a lot of people that can use help like they need help, right? And that's very much what Breathing the Life is about, right? Is just getting everyone to remember it's just like, you're alive. It's great. What a gift. If you're breathing, you're alive. That's amazing, you know?
So
Forget the sky is falling in, like whatever, you're no money, or you're this, or you're fire, or you're whatever.
yeah.
Doesn't really matter, you know?
But I love the fact that you see it as, you know, everything that happens to us is actually a learning and a, you know, an experience to look at something, to like, you took it with, because I believe the reason why we feel bad is because, you know, we're sick, right? So I'm dramatizing, dramatically making this as a sickness because we feel it. We feel like the tension, we feel the aches, and until we fix it by taking the vitamins or, you know, like getting to understand why, where the pain is coming from, and fix all those pains by, you know, either is, for us is, you know, we discover breath work. Breath work for us is like reminding us to breathe, but really when we're, you know, anxious and overwhelmed, right?
Yes.
Then it's opting into
And realizing that you're overwhelmed, and that's just part of being human, because our programming is what it is, but we're just human. So, and I feel very like music is very powerful for people. We know that in movement, like it's been studied, but forget all of the like academic aspects. It's like, it's powerful.
Yeah.
Why is it powerful? We can get into that, but it's like, we just know it's really like, you want to move something immediately, that's a great tool, you know?
Yeah, this is one of the reasons, you know, because I have been working with the wellness world, which is, like you said, breath work, meditation, primarily yoga as well, and dance. But like, I closely work with different platforms and teachers they're teaching, you know, these kinds of modalities, primarily, like I said, yoga, meditation, and breath work. One of the new things I've been working on is I actually started an app called Soul Groove Wellness. And you may have saw a booth at the Wave event. I have a partnership with the whole movement around that, and it's an app with different teachers that I've worked with or I'm connecting with, but it's with my music paired up. Because what I realized was, you know, I have so much music, and I've helped so many apps over the years. I could easily provide something that's meaningful to me, to my community, that's taking what I do, you know, and I can kind of shape that journey. So breath, like, you know, a lot of breath work with different teachers, meditation, but it's really guided with music, and then really everything is scored with music specifically by myself. And so that's a fun project. I don't have huge attachments of what it looks like in 10 years, but I would love to see that's something that goes out to the world along, you know, my growth, because that's something that's documenting processes, you know, where someone can easily go on that app and maybe have a shift or a breakthrough by doing a breathwork class. You see what I'm saying? So like so I like, now I'm working on projects that's like tangible, that I can create legacy with for myself and my family. And, you know, so now it's like the 10-year vision. So like 10 years ago from now, I was just getting more and more involved with music production and festivals and things. And now 10 years from then, at, you know, 2025, I'm like, okay, what does 2035 look like? Where do I see myself there? You know, so these 10-year kind of like outlooks or plans are sometimes great. So you know, so I think from where I am right now to the next 10 years, it's like something like this app, meaningful collaborations with other groups or entities that I can really elevate, you know, their message with my music. So it's just like that gets weaved in, and it's fun because I there's that trust, because I can see certain, you see like the different screens or whatever in front of you, just like of your purpose. If you have you guys ever seen the movie like Minority Report?
I have.
Yeah, it's like Tom Cruise, he's in front of like all these screens and he's moving. I sometimes feel like that, like looking at the matrix of my life, of like, oh, I have these things happening, not knowing everything, but just you see the possibilities with like, just with what you're working with. And then you can kind of like make predictions of like where it could go or what's possible. And then you ask other questions like, what else is possible? You know, what else could happen alongside? And it's really fun because we don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. It's going to be like the way technology is changing and the things are happening, like no idea, right? So it's like, it's fun. It's a kind of exciting, you know, it's not, I don't live with the idea of, oh, it's so scary. I'm not sure. No, life is exciting. Like, so these are outlooks of how things could be, you know.
I love that you led us there. Can we please talk about that? So we're talking about technologies, right? So it's quote unquote scary to just some people. Can you share with us like how you're seeing that? It sounds like you're looking at it, but like can you share more on like how you see that? Like is it feel like it's not scary, it's fun?
It's fun, it's exciting, and there's a lot of unknown, you know. And the way we're feeding the AI, I mean, just listen to any like pro AI, talks. I'm not a professional like lecturer on AI, but like just from what I'm seeing and what I hear, it's gonna be around and it's gonna be more involved than we know within just the next few years. It's an exponential growth, so we can't fear it, but we have to like be aware of it and use it in our own lives for things. But in my opinion, from what I see, it's gonna probably replace a lot. What percentage, I don't know, but I feel like a lot of different types of jobs are going to go away, you know? So what does that mean? It means that we have to start asking different questions on how we share our creativity, our art. You know, most of us will probably have a robot that we've trained to do a lot of the work that we're doing now. Like I'll probably have some sort of robot in 10 years that's helping me write music, coming up with ideas. It's already out there. It's just a part of the world, you know, like that we're going into, and that's for authors, anything that's there. But like we're going to be prompting them and working with them, and they're going to be our assistant, part of our team. So there's no getting out of that. The only way you get out of that is maybe if you're living in a farm, you know, far away without any technology. But modern day society, like if you're not with it, I'm not going to say you're going to be behind, but it's going to be different for individuals, you know. And our kids, like I have a 6.5-year-old, I know in their school they have robotics classes. They're all going to be trained in how to prompt these bots, you know. It's going to be a different future.
Yeah, you said it. We are going to be doing this with the bots.
Yeah.
But still who we are, right?
Exactly.
The ones with the heart or the
Yeah.
the initiation. So I think collectively, as we input all of this information, be more mindful, and we are utilizing these technologies and really a really amazing tool, you know, to help.
It just reminds me of R2D2, you know, from Star Wars. Like he was helping Luke Skywalker with all the nerdy stuff that Luke didn't need to do. You know what I mean? Like he was just doing all this programming, fixing, like that was a robot doing it. Like thank God for R2D2. Those guys would have been stuck in so many nasty situations if that robot didn't come through for them. Save the galaxy pretty much. You know what I mean? Right. So it's perspective.
Right. So with that, right? Like exactly, that can help us, that can save us. That is what is, you know, share.
I think so.
And there's the dark side too. So we have to like, that's the honest conversation is there's all this positivity, and to all the light in our world, there is a dichotomy. There is the darkness. And again, we have to become aware of that to protect our kids, teach them what this is not for, because everything is so accessible now. And, you know, there's people abusing these situations. So that's the world, right? That's the human life.
So interesting. I don't know if we want to wrap soon, but like, me, I think about AI is our collective consciousness. It has definitely, it's definitely made its way into the creative arts. So we'll see what happens. But it's like you were saying, it's just very much like about how we prompt it, how we individualize our bot, our own AI, to do work that we don't really want to do, like print stems, or we're already doing that. It's already like DAWs and DAW is already doing that. And they can make beats, they can do all kinds of things. So we know that, right? But it's going to get more sophisticated as it goes,
of course,
each medium. So I welcome it. I think it's gonna be really
It's
cool.
gonna be like a mixture of like augmented reality with the AI. So it's like experiences will just happen in the moment, and a lot of apps are heading that way as well, where like so say you come to my app. This is not happening on my app yet, but but the app makers are thinking like this. Like it will mix with my personality and the teachers' personalities that are on there, and whoever goes to that app, the robot will create an experience for them in the moment that they need for their energy to make them feel elevated or whatever it is. So this is what's coming is and then the augmented stuff will happen as well where they can see their and stuff.
Definitely
It's really
happening.
cool.
Like it's already starting
Yes.
to happen. I think larger companies like
Oh, yeah.
are in,
Personality AIs, yeah. Yeah. It's there.
it's happening.
Generative AI.
Share with us how we find your app.
Yeah, the app is under Soul Groove Wellness. If you look it up on the Apple Store, or I can share a link with you guys later, but you can go to soulgroovewellness.com. There's actually a 2-month free trial on there right now, I believe. So people can try it.
Anything with us or people that don't know about you
Say that again.
would you like to share anything with us?
I think the best way for folks to like stay in touch with me, they can go on my website. I have a beautiful newsletter that I usually send up. But like, just follow me on Spotify or Apple Music, because if you follow me it's under DJ Taz Rashid. I release a new song every week since 2020. So I have like hundreds, like probably over 1,000 songs I've released over the past 10 years or something. So I'm always creatively showcasing my work to the world, which is beautiful, and social media, and through those channels, you'll find me on live events and different places. I'm traveling all over the U.S. and a few international events this year.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's just to stay in touch. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm doing some fun stuff with the Holo movement, which is exciting as well. Yeah. So
Are you coming to LA anytime soon?
I might be coming out to Santa Barbara actually end of July, but I'm doing an event with this guy named MC Yogi, who's super fun and awesome yogi, musician, a friend, and we'll let you know because it's only a couple hours from you guys. You might love it. It's at the Hotel California,
Awesome. Please.
Santa Barbara. Yeah,
That was
but
so cool talking to you, by the way.
thanks.
It's to meet you and spend a little bit of time with you.
Yeah, I feel like we could have hung out there in person. It was a busy weekend, at least for me. Like just running around a lot.
Yeah, so we have a studio here in Playa Vista. It's really
Oh.
close to the airport, so
Okay.
we're having to like connect here,
Cool.
like hang out in LA. Please,
Yeah, let's stay in touch.
yes,
Yep.
yes.
Or do some writing and whatever. There's instruments everywhere. There's
Oh my gosh, that's the kind of spot for me. Yeah, do you do looping? Anything? Any
Some looping,
RC5?
Yeah, some
That's
like
the best thing for a room full of instruments.
I mean, I use I'm like an old Pro Tools person, but like
Oh, okay.
Ableton here, and Contact and
Yeah.
RC20, that little looper, so I do
Yeah.
all kinds of.
I've got the RC like whatever 505 or something, the MK2. It's I don't know if you can. Whatever, but that's
I do all kinds of stuff.
cool, man.
It's like working with people and like.
We'll have to jam when I come.
Yeah.
We would love that. We would love that. And this is like my space is set up like for people to come and do a set, but it's not huge, but it's like set up to do that exactly. So we would love that.
Well, guys, thank you so much for inviting me. Great conversation. We'll get it shared out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Look forward to seeing you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
Have a beautiful day.